It is 7 p.m. and I will call this regular council meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute. Linda, if you will start us off, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we just. Minutes.
Yeah.
So we will do roll call.
Councilmember Mockus, present. Councilmember Carlisle, present. Councilmember Ansich,
Present.
Councilmember Robinson,
Present.
Councilmember Wenzel.
Present.
And department heads are here. Sans Chief Stratton, he is out, but we've got our assistant chief here with us tonight. So we will move on to the approval of the agenda. Did everyone have a chance to look at it?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add an executive session to discuss potential real estate transactions. Transaction,
Where would you like that?
after the mayor's report, please.
So is motion to approve the agenda with an executive session added between items 9 and 10, mayor's report and old business. Is there a second?
Oh, second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the amended agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So pass. Starting off this evening, Linda Springer and representing Friends of Highland Park has a presentation for us about all the work that they've been doing.
This is short and sweet, I talk a lot,
Yeah.
so. A lot of you already know a lot about the park, you've been up to visit it, but I wanted to show you really the beginning. So this really, the history on it back in 2013. We've been living in Cosmopolis for 18 years. And in 2013, we became aware that there was a movement to sell the park up. And I have a love for parks, even though it was a sad, underutilized, really worn out park. I believe when you get rid of a park, you can never replace it. So we started a petition and we were able to move forward and keep the park. And so with that, we started in early 2019, a small group of volunteers like, what could we do just to improve the park? And as you can see, Councilman, there you are. What's all you got? And then my husband over there, he's not in now, but let me tell you, he's been amazing. I couldn't do it without him. And so we started out with actually 7 members, Brian Allen, my husband, and Craig Zora. And so I can move on. So as you can see, the only set of benches we had were these really old worn out benches. The city was great. They came up. Jeff took them off, Powell washed them, we painted them and put some new benches on them. So that was just the beginning. Oh, and look at that stump back there in that grass. And as you can see, there's a swing set. Every time kids were on that swing set, our TV room is up and I can look at the park and I have to tell you, I was just waiting to see it fall apart and a child hit the ground. And, I just was really always concerned about the swing set. But the kids love it, the adults love it. But you can see it needed work. So we worked really hard in that park. We power washed the courts, we raked, we mowed it, we painted things, we tried to hand paint the fence. We really realized at that time that we really couldn't do a whole lot without some money. And with that said, I tackled the T-Mobile grant. This is a nationwide grant. We received $50,000 from this grant. We asked for that much. And we were one of 27 groups nationwide that received this grant. And so with that said, it really was a catalyst knowing that we could do this. We could raise money for this park. So we developed a plan for the park. What was it we wanted it to look like? We formed our nonprofit in November of 2019. With that, we formed our board and designed what we really hope the park would look like. You can see the parking strip number 13 right there. That's on the Dundee side. That's one of the major things that is not completed at this time. Per grant requirement, T-Mobile and the AARP grant and part of the Drusianic funding is we need to have paid parking for EV access into the park with 2 handicap spaces. And so Jeff has done an amazing job getting the gravel down and ready. That's just a major piece. Lakeside will do it, but we are just a speck of sand on the beach when it comes to Lakeside. They have $100,000 project that they're trying to get completed before the rains come. We all know that's coming this weekend. So moving on, this is what the park looks like. Stumps, lots of them, uneven ground. You can see that basketball court. Miles, do you remember cleaning that
yeah.
court? And yeah, Brian, and so the city did cold patch it. But it was pretty sad. And that's what the playground looked like before. So that red climbing toy was rusted, the basketball hoops had seen better days. The climbing toy back there was donated to the city by Dustin Rotter. I can't remember when it was, but it was about 7 or 8 years ago. Oh, when was it, Jim?
We went up there with our new 450 Ford, so that had to be 2017.
And so this was a private piece of play equipment he had for his children. And didn't you, were you the person that found this equipment?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Because if I had to write a grant for that, that would have been another $30,000 or $40,000, not to mention installation. So we have cleaned that. I was over scrubbing on it, and then Jamin said, there's an easier way to do this. He brought me some cleaner, sprayed it, and the dirt just ran off. And then I touched up the paint, and so it looks like brand new. And so we're very thankful to have that piece of equipment. And there's our swing set. And as you can see, the ties that were rotten and broken, the chips we had there, that we got those from Cosmo. They dumped them and we spread them because it was nothing but a mud bog. And especially during the winter months. And then this was kind of a fun project. Northwest Rock donated rocks. I got to go with Jeff. We went out to Northwest Rock and handpicked the rocks. And I have to tell you, Jeff was really patient with me because they were very, very heavy, and he put them down and I said, oh, no, not quite right. Could you move it over a little bit? And he did. So both corners on the Dundee side are landscape. And that landscaping happened because we had the city fished in and Baby Ready Mix donated the chips. We had lots of volunteers that came out. They bought plants. And we worked a full weekend nonstop from very early to late, not late on both days. And we got this landscape. And, you know, it really looks nice. It really adds to the park. And so here we have the stumps being ground out. The city took care of this for us. And now the city crew taking out the old basketball court. So this is pretty blurry, but if you have Facebook, on Facebook, we have a group called Friends of Highland Park. And so this is what our page looks like. Debbie Becca put this together for me. And anything that's going on in the park or any updates, you can see it right there. And we have quite a few members now. So this is part of the landscaping project now. It was everybody got involved, from the 50 plus down to the little ones. And I don't know, I'm trying to remember, Brian, what is her name? Josephine has lived here in Grays Harbor, what I would say almost all her life. And she walked over and she was almost until she just said, this does my heart good. This is so wonderful to see this happening in the park. And that was Marty and John is here. John and Marty joined our group earlier this year, and they have been amazing volunteers. And so Steve Davis brought in pump trailer and dirt for us. And that's a finished product. The trees are actually getting pretty big right now. And so this hill is that you, Miles, again?
Sure is.
It is. So part of the project, what we ordered was really nice border to go around the park. We wanted something that was safe for the kids and would be durable and will last for many, many years. And I have to tell you, this was not easy. Jeff did, they went around, completely around the play area. So the play area, about a third of the park, or maybe a little bit more. And so that was along with, they went to shade that day. Bob Smith and Brian were on the other side in the sun. It was quite hot, but it took a few days, weekend, but they got the border in. And then this was another work party day, moving dirt, pulling weeds, picking up sticks, getting roots out. You can see I dressed up that day, so, but this was a work party day, just really down on our hands and knees, digging, pulling up things. Here is Jeff, he brought in rocks for the covered area. Thank you to the city for supporting that and doing that. We couldn't, really, with the money we had, we ended up getting $131,000 in grants, probably another $20,000 in donation. If we look at in-kind match, I would say we're probably from the city, $30,000 to $50,000. And so, and what they did. And so we really are looking at a very amazing park for 200,000. That is not counting if I was charging you at a grant, I don't know what my fees would be, or the volunteers that put in their time, it would be quite a bit more. So one of the things I do want to talk about this evening, I'm really proud, this is my daughter, not daughter, but my granddaughter and grandson, Evelyn and Henry Erickson. They live in Issaquah, and when she visited park, we were already working on it, and she just said, "Oh, Nana, what a sad, sad park." And I said, "It is, but it's going to change." And they wanted to be part of the change. And so what they did is they had a lemonade sale very early on, where they raised 200 and I can't recall exactly how much it was. And we used that money to open our first nonprofit bank account at Timberland. And then this summer, the plan was, she really cares about the environment. How are you going to take care of this park? And I said, the plans are to set up an endowment. Well, we want to do that. So they set up their lemonade stand, image signs, made that sign for them and donated it to them. And they raised $1,400 in 4 hours up there. Yeah, pretty amazing. People came out and gave lots of love and money that day. And so that money now is with the Grace Harbor Community Foundation. And our goal is Eric Potts will be handling that foundation. And once we get up to $5,000, it will go on the registry for people to donate. And so why the endowment? So the idea was, when we took on this project, was we wanted to adopt a park and we wanted to take care of it. We know the city has very tight financial restraints. So what do? So the endowment is set up. When we get up to $10,000, the community foundation will match it 20%. So we hope to just build on it. So this isn't for mowing the park or anything like that. What it is if a piece of equipment breaks, if something gets vandalized, it will take care of that. So, we're going to have more information out on Facebook and other places. And it should have been with the article tonight, but it wasn't, that was in the paper. But just to let you know, if you know anybody that's looking to make an investment in our community, they can talk to Eric Parks at Potts at the Community Foundation. And so it's very specific how the funds are being used. Here is another Chris, one of our volunteers. And then Caskey Industrial Supplies, they donated all the benches. And actually fixing this swing set was a little over $4,000, and Caskey did it for half the price. And Dennis said, I'll just do it for you for nothing, but he might have, but because we ended up just paying for materials. So the bar that is now on that swing set, it's not going anywhere for probably it will be there when I'm gone. So they did a great job to fixing that. Cosmo. So Cosmo was amazing. Larry Davis had assured me months ago he would come up with chips. And I was really worried, like, we need to get these chips because products and getting things, as you all know, in this day and age, is a challenge. So when we were ready and I called him, he said, oh, Linda, I have bad news. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I said, so you can't get the chips. So they were really having a hard time getting materials for their product. But he actually got really nice cereal chips, not hog few or anything like that, out of Shelton. He took care of it. He had that delivered here. And we had two 53-foot semis that dumped it, and the city spread it. But let me tell you, we still had a towel of chips to spread. But it was pretty amazing. It was amazing. When I called Larry and thanked him, he's been by the park a few times. He said he's very impressed, and he's really happy that he could support us in the city of Cosmopolis. So as you can see, everybody jumped in on this to help. And yes, that's a baby yet. She's raking, and that's her son with his little wheelbarrow. We had everybody helping. So when we got that done, trying to get ready for the hydro seed, again, thank you to the city. If you haven't been up there to see how green it is, it's beautiful. But the prep was a lot of work. Breaking, picking up sticks, rocks, you name it. And then this is Ty McKay, and again, Brian, smoothing it out. It was a lot of rolling with a very, I'm not sure what that's called. I tried to move it in certain. So here we are. Here is a part. Right over here on this side, this is a fitness station. It's getting a lot of use. That's a combination pickleball and basketball court with a movable net. The kids are loving it. I think that's it. So right at this point today, John, thank you. John's been out. He helped Jamin put up the swings. So the old swing set has brand new swings. We have, you can't see it, but right next to the swing set is a swing set for younger children. It has the infant swing, it has the ADA swing that children can be strapped into, and then a shorter swing for young kids. Today, they put in 2 bouncy toys. They put in the swings, and other than John has been great. He put, Caskey made the benches. John put all the wood on and painted them, and that was kind of a job, wasn't it, John? Yeah, it did take a little while. And so we did have, the paper said it's not open, that's not correct. We did a soft opening a couple weeks ago. It was just like, let's get this tape, let's get this ribbon off. But we couldn't do it till we had the rules signed. If any of you go up and read the signs, there's a word with, W-I-T-H-E. It was pointed out to me by Jamin right away when he hung them up. And he said, we can't hang these. I said, oh, we have to hang them because we need to get this park open. And so I called the Image Signs. They're going to take care of it. So if anybody points it out, just say, oh, yes, we're taking care of that. So the rule signs are up for the use of the pickleball, the basketball court, and coming in. And it's, it's very clear. No smoking, no alcohol in the park, dogs on leash, no motorized vehicles unless it's an ADA assistant motorized vehicle or wheelchair for individuals who may need it. And what I've seen, because I do live across the street, people are parking their bikes, they're walking in. They've just been very receptive to it. And before, when people put garbage on ground, it would lay on the ground. What I see is it's getting picked up if someone laid something on the ground and forgot to pick it up. And the neighbor across the street was saying, we have a lot of deer. The deer love that chip. And so it looks like we have a herd of dogs running loose and now depositing their pool, but it's actually the deer. And so we actually, Tina Nielsen and the gal across the street, I can't think of their name, they go out every other day with a bag and pick up the pool out of the park. So there's a lot of pride in keeping this park beautiful. If you drive by, about the time the kids get out of school, it is used, and there's people there during the day. And when we were leaving tonight, it's getting dark, but people are swinging and swing. And I have to tell you, this has really been a year-long project. It was a lot to take on. At times, I felt pretty overwhelmed, but it just really fills my heart with happiness. We have had such amazing people come out. And not only that, people connecting in the community and getting to know each other. When during the soft opening, we had a 50+ meet and greet. We had 50 people show up. And it was really interesting because there was a couple of neighbors that lived within about 3 or 4 blocks. And they, really hadn't met one another. And one of the neighbors, when I was talking to her, she said, I just feel isolated. I feel like I don't know anyone, but they met each other that day. And so it was pretty heartwarming. So a special thank you to Julie, because she's had to financially manage 3 of the bigger grants there. A really big thank you to the Public Works Bureau, especially Jane. And you have an amazing superintendent Val, who's not sitting at his desk telling people what to do. He's on the ground, digging, working hard. And Dylan, thank you for your collaboration. I mean, and the volunteers that are here tonight. Stephanie, this is Stephanie Reese. She's been in that park with me. John Schumacher, my husband. Those are just, as I said, we started out with a small handful. We probably have 40 to 50 volunteers, and our core group is probably 25. And I can always find someone to help with something. So I just want to say thank you. I know I've heard this statement. Well, we put a lot of time and money into this park. So I do want to tell you a couple of things. You did. There was no doubt. You spent money, you put time into this park. And that was a budget you kind of had for parks for several years. And when it's spread thin, you don't see, to be honest, a lot happen. That's the reality. We all know that. But when you have people that come together for projects like this, we have a completed park that is going to have an endowment that has been adopted by citizens to take care of it, mow it, paint it, restain the benches, whatever it takes. Clean up the garbage in that park. My husband was out mowing it yesterday and then took the stuff to the dump. We had people. Miles has been out there mowing that park. So it's a win-win situation. Yes, a lot of time and your park money went in, but when it's all said and done, you have an amazing park. We've had people from Aberdeen out of the area. People drive by this park all the time, and they have made the most positive comments. I am really looking forward to working with the city in the future, working with the Park Advisory Board to see where we go from here, because I think we can make an investment in our community that will continue on to make a huge impact in this community. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Linda. I mean, for spearheading this, and of course, thank you to all of the Friends of Highland Park, and I mean to Jeff and his team. I mean, this is a colossal effort, and like you said, you've served on the Parks Committee, and you've seen that the city is very limited at what we can do for parks, but you and your people really stepped up, and it really shows. So we're very appreciative.
Thank you.
We will move on to public comments this evening, public comments on agenda items. And we just ask that you try to limit them to 3 minutes if you have a public comment. But the floor is open. Again, it is on agenda items. Seeing nobody jump up. We will move on to the consent agenda. What is the council's pleasure?
The motion we approve. I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any adjustments? I think the minutes were included in the packet this time, unfortunately, so we'll have to put that off until our next meeting. But minus the meeting minutes from the October 5th meeting, claims, vouchers, and consent agenda, what's the council's pleasure? All in favor, I guess.
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Moving on to committee reports, and we will start with Parks, Rec, and Cemetery.
The meeting, we discussed putting some long overdue procedures into place so we can have any organizations that want to partner with the city or someone who wants to hold events such as the festival in the park. We can get their visions and details on paper and get proper information distributed to staff, all of council and the appropriate committees. Then we can discuss funding and all of the parties involved understand their obligations. Also, Linda ended up being able to secure the funding for the snowflakes she had mentioned, so those will get hung. And that was about all.
Perfect. Moving on to Public Works,
No meeting, no report.
Public Safety.
I have a laundry list here. So, we'll start with the police side. One of the items that's on the agenda tonight is talking about, police vehicle purchase. So we'll talk about that later. We've also talked about the need for a 6th officer, so that's a conversation we should probably start. With the amount of turnover that we have with the department and how long it takes to train new officers, you're looking at about a year or so. When we have departures like we had this last week, it takes a long time to fill that position. Even if it's a lateral, it'll take a long time. So anyway, that's a discussion that we're starting to have. We also discussed more about the RV parking ordinance, which is also on the agenda for tonight. Let's see here. Let's go to the fire side. We had a long meeting with this one as well. It looks like the former washing machine for the PPE equipment, the fire equipment, the turnouts, there we go. The old machine was actually over at Public Works still, and it looks like there's some repairs that can be done to put it back in service. So that's something that's being worked on now. We're starting to talk about the budget and specifically for the turnout replacement. Because those are sized for the person, you can't just one size fits all. So that's as we onboard new members, they'll have to be sized to turnouts that are also not expired, which we have a lot of expired turnouts on hand. Current turnouts have all been washed. Hoquiam helped us out with that, so thank you, Hoquiam Fire Department. With that, they had to be washed twice to get everything out. So it was a big task for them to take on. It takes a lot of work to wash those out, pull them apart and everything. Let's go through here. Let's see here. We're gonna be replacing the hot water heater over at the station soon. I'm not sure tonight where we're at with new members, but potentially adding new members tonight to the department. It just depends where we're at with testing and everything, so we'll find out in a few minutes, sounds like. We had discussion about updating the fire department website, which we're working on. We did order some supplies for aid calls. I'm not sure if they came in yet.
The majority of them have come in. We're still waiting on a few more things. Right,
Okay,
Nick?
so we're
Well-
waiting on a prescription from Dr. Buck, so that should get today.
okay. So as soon as those arrive, we'll actually have a Cosmopolis EMT that's available to respond to calls. So we're getting pretty close to getting some sort of response for aid calls. And then the last little piece of information, depending on where membership is, but South Beach RFA is offering firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 wildland training in January. So that's something we'll need to assess as we're onboarding new members to see what their current training level is. And trying to get them into a fire academy and get them trained up. So a lot was on the agenda for that meeting.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll jump down to city official reports and we'll start with Darren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item I've got is a couple months ago, I think it was 3, I'd asked permission to apply for a grant in conjunction with, or in cooperation with cities of Aberdeen and Oakwim for $400,000. And that is to develop our comprehensive stormwater management plans. Well, we have been granted those funds. So that's a $400,000 grant. Both other cities are pretty busy with some other projects, so they have asked us if we will be the fiscal agent for those funds. I've spoken with Julie and we're willing to do so. We'd rather not, but we're willing to do so. So in order to do that, we need council permission to be able to accept those funds on behalf of that project.
Is that something we would need to move now? Make it,
Yes.
so I would like to make a motion to move forward with accepting these grant funds.
Moved by Councilmember Wenzel, we'll give that one to Ray as the second. To serve as a fiscal agent for this project combined with the cities of Aberdeen and Hoquiam. Does that sound right? Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So passed. Keep that going.
Then pretty much the rest of my report is in my written report that everybody's got a copy of. And then one other item to discuss as interim fire chief now. We've got 2 more members we would like to onboard tonight. We need council confirmation and all that. Nick, discuss that if you would like. Everybody, this is Nick Valley. He is our one of our members we confirmed last meeting. He's our go-to guy right now.
So we're asking for confirmation of first, Mark Terravaccia. He was previously in the year serving as our fire chief. He's agreed to come back in a volunteer capacity. If we get him on by the end of the year, we can revive his EMT license, so he doesn't have to go through training again. He's been down at the station doing a lot the past couple of weeks, getting things organized. At his physical today, drug panel, that all came back clean. So he's made it through the background check and all our initial onboarding steps. The second would be Phil Sims. He lives East County. I'm trying to remember exactly where. That he is formerly a firefighter EMT. He was with Easter's Upper Fire and Rescue. He's wanting to volunteer with us. He's also gone through the onboarding background check, drug panel and physical. So we'd like confirmation for those 2 numbers.
So I'd like to make a motion to onboard Mr. Terravaccia and Phil Sims to the fire department.
Has been moved and seconded to bring on the 2 in volunteer capacity. Any discussion? I just noted it's interesting. We had Mark serving as the fire chief, but now getting him actually on as a volunteer, we're excited to have him back and he's excited to serve too. So any further discussion from the council? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed.
That's all I've got. Thank you, Mayor.
Perfect. Moving on to city attorney Steve Johnson.
I don't have anything to report other than we have court tomorrow at 1 o'clock on Zoom.
Moving on to finance director Julie Pope.
Okay, I want to give you guys a little bit of a timeline on the budget process. At the next council meeting, and actually all council meetings till the end of the year, you're going to be seeing workshops prior to each meeting to discuss the budget. At the next meeting, I do expect to present the full revenue budget for the year and the general fund expenditure budget. At the November 16th meeting, we'll do a draft expenditure budget for the remaining funds, and we'll also be having a public hearing on property tax levies. So I'm hoping by the first meeting in December to present the final budget to the council. And hopefully we can pass it. If not, we'll have one more at the end of the year to go from there. As of right now, for estimated revenues, I'm estimating the general fund that we'll have approximately 2.3 million in revenues, which is only about $30,000 to $40,000 higher than 2021. But the difference is we won't have the ARPA funds, which was $232,000. So in reality, without that, we're really running about 12% higher, and that's mostly for things like B&O taxes, sales taxes, because the cost of everything has gone up. So that's where the biggest thing is. Everything else is really remaining about the same, because we're still not sure how the economy is going to be. So I'm trying to be fairly conservative on those. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Perfect. We'll look forward to them. DC, got a report?
Most of what we have is agenda items that we'll talk about later, but I don't want this opportunity to just publicly say, thank you to Gabe Karnowski for 14 plus years of service with us. He was a great officer for our agency, and Aberdeen stole a good one from us. And I look forward to opportunities to replace his position.
Thank you. Jeff's not with us, so we will move on to mayor's report, and I will keep it very brief. I guess I just said ballots are going out this week, and so I just encourage everyone to vote on their candidate or item of choice as they see fit, but voting is the most important part. Opinions are everybody's, but just get out there and vote, and of course you can do it right outside City Hall. That is all that I've got. So at this time, we are going to move into an executive session. How long do you think 20 minutes? We'll go into a 20-minute executive session. And we'll clear the chamber, and we will return, but we will return at 7:58.
So this time.
DUIs was stuck on the train tracks.
First one you got or Dave?
Don't talk about the golf.
Tough crowd you guys got here.
Wait for it to flip over. Wait in time. (7:58), call the meeting back to order and move on to old business. Item A, RV and oversized vehicle ordinance for discussion. This had come up at our last meeting and went back and forth with public safety and the chief and made a few adjustments here and there. This is just for discussion.
Yes.
Before it comes brought back to ordinance, but see if the council had a chance to read over that and see if there was anything that they would like adjusted, defined, modified. Yes,
I'd like to make a motion to have a workshop on this ordinance before its passage. Before the next meeting, after the next meeting, whatever.
are we expecting this in the next meeting?
Yes,
Probably, so
in
we'll
ordinance form. at the
we'll
next
just
meeting.
do double workshops. Yeah.
Mhm.
No problem.
So you made a
Yeah.
motion, so I got a second, I'll second.
Does that need a motion?
I don't think it needs much.
We'll take it though.
Well, it kind of does, because he's basically tabling it.
Oh, okay. So motion on the table to bring this forward at a workshop at our next city council meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? So passed, move forward. New business, Greater Grace Harbor Agreement. This is the annual agreement between us and Greater Grace Harbor, Inc. What is the council's pleasure?
Make the motion that we go with it as printed.
I'll second.
Motion and second to sign a municipal sales agreement or services agreement, that is, with Greater Grace Harbor, Inc. And the city of Cosmopolis. Discussion.
Darren, could you talk about it a little bit?
Yes, I'm pulling this up a bit. Greater Grace Harbor, as you know, acts as our chamber of commerce, but also does a lot of things similar to council of governments. They will help our businesses in our community seek funding for projects they may have. I know they've assisted Cosmo a lot in the past, you know, with helping to get job training and recruiting and things like that going. They provide a lot of information to people looking for property, maybe as a developer. They were very active with us when we did the area-wide plan through Council of Governments, which was basically an inventory of all of our commercial properties in Cosmopolis, which they then take that plan and go help market that. People looking to move here for either business or housing or things like that, so. A very worthwhile group. I think, Mayor, you sit on their board still?
Yes, but
So-
not representing the city, but yes.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that you kind of summed it up.
And we've been doing this several years in a row, I
Oh,
imagine.
yes,
Long time.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
an annual, it's an annual discussion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So passed. And Mayor Pro Tem Panovich, I'm gonna ask you to sign that one, just because I do sit on the board. Just to make that separation.
Give me my stamp.
Give it to me.
Item B, 2023 garbage rate adjustments. Conveniently, we have a person that knows all about it.
So I would like to explain
I haven't made it here for, I think it's good to come to a meeting finally and I have Zoom and all that stuff, but, how many years has that been? But, anyway, just explain the breakdown of the rate increase, contractual rate and, adjustment. There's two parts to it. One is the disposal piece of it, as the disposal rates go up. That's in the contract that we can pass all of that through to the rates of the, customers. The other part is the CPI. And the CPI this year was 8.97, something like that. And the contract reads that we adjust the rates 80% of the CPI. But also there's a cap on that. So being 5%, so being the CPI is so high this year, we capped it, we contracted at 5% increase. So that's the two components of the rate increases that we annually are in the contract to do. We just wanted to add to is, this year is pretty high. I'm not gonna, it's transparent, it's right there. The tip fee, the disposal fee at the transfer station went up $11.61. That's through other contracts that adjust that. That turns out to be like a 5 cent a pound increase. That's transferred to the rates. The 5% cap really helps out on that on the CPI part of it. But all our costs, like you've already mentioned, costs are going up. Of that, all of our brokerage, which is a hauling of it to the landfill, has gone up $4 a ton. You guys understand all the stories, and just want to be transparent about that. And if you guys have any questions other than that, great answer. But we've always felt that annual increases are far better than holding back and then having a great big jump. Agreed, this is a big jump, but if you don't do it annually, it hurts people worse. So that's not all I got. But if you've got any questions, I'm here. You don't get me here very often. Here I am.
Council, anything to add? What's the pleasure? Or do we?
We have to authorize this.
Yeah, we have to authorize,
This sign.
so we would need a motion.
We sign the contract with the offer. Or is that the right?
Ordinance, would be an ordinance change.
Addendum to garbage contract.
Okay. Every city word's a different, sorry.
I make a motion that we authorize you to sign that contract.
Moved by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Ansich to sign the updated documentation from Harold and Knight Enterprises. Just one question, these are, this is a countywide, it's not just to clarify, this isn't just our rates are going up, everyone else is staying the same.
Every city has a different contract, so it's all adjusted pretty much the same. Base rates, they are adjusted all the same, all the city contracts are adjusted the same. But the bases are kind of different depending on your geographics. Westport's are a little higher because of travel time, of course, stores, Causey is a little better. Right now, the county areas, we can't adjust them because they're controlled by the UTC governments. And so we haven't been able to get a rate case into them. That's kind of out of our hands, but all city contracts are adjusted virtually the same. Right now, you're better off if you're living in the county, Mayor, sorry.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
And item C, surplus of ballistic vests. I'm assuming.
It is. I don't have a ton of data on it, but basically, the best way to describe the situation is recently we did purchase a new ballistic vest for Officer Tarnowski. Those are very specific to the officer. It's cut for the officer and it can't be altered a second time. So it's pretty much worthless to us to retain it, or we can let him use it at the city of Aberdeen, and the city of Aberdeen will be paying us a portion of the purchase price. I believe off the top of my head, it was $750. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That they would be reimbursing us for to offset the loss of the vest going into the cabinet and sitting for the next 10 years till it was in the garbage can. So That's the most simplistic way that I know how to convey that.
What was the original cost?
No.
No, that's.
No,
that's a
I
different-
tried to find the exact numbers. It was, I think it was $1,200 off the top of my head.
I think you're right.
And
It's
we've
in that
had it
ballpark.
approximately 6 months-ish,
I think it's been a little bit longer than that.
maybe a little longer. It's not been a very long time. But I will say, and this is terrible coming out of my own mouth, but they're supposed to be replaced every 5 years, and the best we replaced was closer to 10, so, yeah.
Do we have
We don't have any paperwork on that.
anything on that?
I can make motion to surplus the ballistic vest,
And sell it to Aberdeen.
sell it to Aberdeen.
Second. Moved by Councilmember Ansich, second by Councilmember Robinson to surplus the ballistics vest and sell to the city of Aberdeen for continued use
For the $750.
for $750. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? So pass. Item D, property appraisal. Council's had a chance to look over, we got appraisal on this property. Do we need to do any backstory on this, Darren?
Yes, this is a parcel that a couple here in town has requested to purchase from the city. They live with corner of Alton and Holly Lane. It's basically an unusable piece of ground that the city currently owns, and we acquired the property through a land trade for some property on Short Lane here several years ago. We paid $5,000 for it. This is not buildable ground other than maybe for an extended garage or like a shop for the property owner that's looking to buy this. We have some utilities in there, a utility, so we would need an easement from these folks. The appraised value is $12,500, and that was an appraisal we just received this past week. So
That covers it, I think. What is the council's pleasure?
I will make a motion to sell the property for $12,500, subject to the granting of a 10-foot wide easement for utilities. Second.
Moved by Councilmember Carlisle and second by Councilmember Marcus to offer sale of the property at $12,500 with the granting of that easement. Any discussion?
Was that the exact amount that the
The appraisal.
The
appraisal was
the
at?
Opinion of value, yeah.
It was,
It was, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I just want to make sure
Did
that it was the
the
same.
the people wishing to purchase this paid for the appraisal, correct?
they did, yes.
So would it be? I guess, 12,500 minus the cost of their appraisal, they've already. Would that be fair?
I don't think we can do that. Just because we can't sell the property below that, so like the purchase price of the property, I think, has to match or be below. Appraised value, I don't think the appraisal could be part of that, that's a Steve question, I guess.
I agree with what you just said.
Yeah.
The city would have to sell for market value and the appraiser is determined that it's 12,500. So you can sell for more, but you can't sell for less.
I like your line of thinking though.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the appraisal cost them, I was just.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Alright,
Any opposed? So pass. Police vehicle purchase. Back to you, DC.
So with that, I have some info to give, but I've also just want to introduce to everybody, Adam Johnson is one of my reserve police officers, but Adam's been instrumental in helping put this together, and I know that some of the stuff that I might be a little murky on, he's prepared to answer those questions. The information comes with a story, and the story is that we need a patrol car, but patrol cars are not available. If you go to Google and you put in just a search phrase along the lines of police car shortage, you're gonna get hundreds of results across the nation. And it's similar to the problem that the public's having finding trucks and SUVs where they've got thousands of cars parked and unable to be purchased because they don't have computer chips, etc. I'm not the car guy for the new type cars. I know the stuff about the older ones, but that's about it. But they're not available and it's a premium market. We've searched literally across the United States. We found one available police package Tahoe. It's available in Minnesota. What I'm asking the council is to approve the purchase of the vehicle price and the purchase of the outfitting price. It needs to be one because of the one car that's available. The outfitter bought it and we would be buying it from them, and the only way they'll sell it is if they're the ones doing the outfitting. So long story short, $85,000 outfitted, purchased. We would need to be getting it from Minnesota to here. It's a big price tag, but at least my brand it was until I did a search for Chevy Tahoes in general, and they're actually in that neighborhood, and I was quite surprised that that's the price outfitted. Especially if you start looking at some of the nicer models. With that being said, what do you have to add, Adam?
No, you covered it pretty well. We, like, DC said, we heard it all across the for the car. We were lucky, the particular outfitter we're working with had a cancellation. So they called us, first. There's 6 other departments that are in line for this car if we don't purchase it. Then we get the first right of refusal and get to buy it. Another department in Washington State, Soap Lake, is actually has bought cars from this company. I highly recommend them.
Which, by the way, Soap Lake is where we got our used interceptors
The
from.
Tauruses.
We have a good working relationship with them and highly recommend that company. All the cars that they buy.
But they also said if we don't make the answer tomorrow, they're buying the car.
They're next in line to buy it if we don't buy.
What was your question, Jim? I'm
My
sorry.
question is, it's gonna be upfitted in Minnesota though?
Yes, that's the
So-
only way the vehicle is available to us.
So any warranty work that goes with the
Correct.
upfitting,
That is the biggest logistical problem of the whole equation from at least to my brain. And I agree that is a thing. However, talking to multiple different Adam, talking to places that have had their vehicles, their reputation is above par. And they've got videos of their stuff online that we were reviewing as well. And Soap Lake, again, they've been buying theirs from them and they love them. So did you have more? You talked to
no.
them personally, so.
yeah, they haven't had any issues with them. Obviously, things may happen. The local outfitter that we use in Lacey, obviously wouldn't be able to work on them if we had a big issue.
But I also don't think we've really done much warranty stuff on the stuff that we bought from our local one. It's not been an issue. And I think the stuff that did need repaired on one of the cars was well outside of the warranty period. It was like 5 years later.
Most of the warranty on the lights are only for a year anyway, so like Ryan Tahoe, our newest Tahoe, we've had to have lights replaced on it already and we've had to cover the cost.
And if the council is interested, I printed before our office printer died on me this evening. A couple of the articles explaining the details of why there's such a nationwide shortage in the cars. I learned quite a bit reading it myself, so I was kind of frustrated. I have gone to 5-star. We've discussed them. We thought today we had a lead on one just over the line in Oregon, outside of Portland. Made the phone call and they literally laughed at me when I asked if it was available. And they said, have you not been watching the news? And I said, yes, I was aware, but we thought these were available. And they said, no, and if you have one, you should buy it if you're gonna get it. That's the only way you're gonna get it. So I did look also at some used prices. They're almost the same price and they've been stripped. So we would still have to do the re-outfitting. I found, I think, 3 tonight, right before I walked over. 2017s and 16s. The mileage was over 70,000 miles, sorry. And the price point on the purchase of the car was over 40. The purchase price of just the car, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, Adam, wasn't it $50,577? Outfitting is a big chunk of change, but it's a lot of equipment. And our fleet is, as you very much personally know, Jim, it's been a struggle for a lot of years.
I guess well, this is not a huge thing, but why is it it needs a black wrap? Is it?
No, it doesn't have to have a black wrap. We had the quote done in different options. The black wrap was one that was to make it match the rest of the fleet. And that was just an option. So that doesn't have to be the one we choose. What was the additional cost of that?
38.5.
Yeah.
There you go.
When you talked to someone, did you ask them how they got around the bid laws?
Yes, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so they did a full source justification for the purchase. What they said is they went off the state contract for their first, bid, which there's no state contract cards available at all. The second one was just doing a card search online, see if they could find some, they couldn't, same thing DC did. And then the third was the quote from this company.
So they had their counsel declare a sole source.
That is correct.
Okay.
Which we've actually already done that diligence to be able to say to you, there is no cards available.
What about like the outfitting?
My question is,
Yeah.
I totally get
That's a
there's no
different
cars
issue.
available at this time,
Final
but
product.
with,
And they're saying they won't sell it unless.
The forecast is into 24 before they become available.
Yeah.
Aberdeen had 4 cards get canceled on them this year already. They're back to not having cards.
As far as the, I mean, just because we're talking about the sole source option, because it's not outfitted. Is it possible to purchase it and then have it outfitted as part of the contract with sole source, or is that's not gonna cause any?
So per the Soap Lake Police Department, they spoke to Washington State Auditor's Office and they said, it's fine. The process is what it is. There was nothing else available and the condition of purchasing the car was dependent upon that. From this very specific outfitter that we are also finding it from. And they said that it passed with flying colors. That is what he communicated to Adam.
Yeah.
So I don't know the legal RCWs just to quote, that's what that police department communicated to us.
let's
And the-
hope we get the same state auditor.
And the tax question that I believe was asked, that would be done at the point of licensing in Washington State.
Other than on the equipment, I would assume the equipment
It's
for
part of the
outfitting.
car.
But the purchase is probably in that state.
So
for the
then the
equipment.
whole total would be subject to the 9.11% sales tax for local.
Because that would be the total purchase price of the vehicle then.
Right.
Technically, be if it was delivered there,
We have to pay Washington state tax.
When you go to license it.
Yes,
yeah.
we have to.
yeah,
pay
but on the
tax.
vehicle. I'm
On the
talking about the
vehicle.
equipment itself, isn't it at the point of purchase?
Well, that's why I was asking, what if they're wrapping it into the grand total of the car as this whole total is gonna be taxed as if it were all part of the car?
Taxed twice.
Right, or are they gonna say, okay, we're selling you the car for 47,000. Now we're gonna, sell your outfitting equipment at 17,000, but the sales tax is on that 17,000, which is usually lower on equipment than it is on autos. So that's why I've been asking a lot about the sales tax, because the quotes she sent over don't even mention it, and there's nothing broke out on it.
They were two separate quotes and we asked them to put them together.
Mhm.
Just to-
But they still need to break out that sales tax portion. I've really never seen a quote that
'Cause it-
didn't break that.
Because potentially they could be selling us the vehicle at their tax rate is the whole vehicle, not just the equipment. And then when we go to
Mhm.
license it here, pay the tax.
Right. We almost
Um,
need to see like a sales agreement, which then breaks everything down.
And I think all that is possible. What, I hate trying to put anybody under the gun for making a decision, but
Right.
if we don't choose to move forward and say that we're going to figure all those things out and purchase it, this car is gone tomorrow. And I don't know that we have a whole lot of hope of finding another rig. So if we're moving forward with this vehicle, we have been told that we have till tomorrow, which was several more days than they wanted to give. And it will be Soap Lake and Washington State will be purchasing the vehicle under the same exact stuff as us, and it'll be delivered to them. So that's your guys' decision, but that is the
We'll get a-
circumstances.
We'll get a better deal from Soap Lake when it's a couple years old.
If we can make our cars last till then, that'd be great.
Well, I guess my thinking is we lost Gabe, so we've got that vehicle right now. Right now we do.
No, we don't, because I have a reserve officer covering that shift.
Okay,
So it's
Well, we-
use.
yeah, but I guess I've been in this position once before on the fire truck and I'm not gonna go there again. That's me.
I'm not
That's my
pushing anybody.
opinion.
I'm just simply presenting you the information.
I understand and I respect that, but
Julie, how would we fund that?
We would have to finance it because we weren't anticipating a rig to cost this much. So I do not have that kind of fund sitting in equipment reserve right now. I would need to wait probably another year to be able to accumulate enough to pay cash.
So what's our reserve equipment funds? Right now, what can,
I
or
don't
what
have the
can
numbers.
we,
So you can buy police cars, it helps purchase software for City Hall, sometimes it's Public Works that needs equipment, it's kind of for everybody in the city except for the fire department, because
Right.
they had their own equipment fund.
What's the interest rate now?
I contacted Bank of the Pacific, which is where we do all of our banking, and they said 5.24% for a 60-month loan. So that puts the payments roughly $1,600, give or take.
And just for clarification, this isn't more expensive of a purchase than we would have had through Washington State. It's the
Correct.
same type of price point. It's not above it. It's just things are expensive.
Shocking.
Right.
yeah,
And maybe-
I think that's the big
Yeah, that's what-
question. I think for us is what our comfortability is on paying cash out of the budget or financing. And I think that's kind of for me, the hinge point.
The only thing that makes me nervous about a loan is the economy and, they're expecting a recession to come. How's that gonna affect the mill? How's that gonna affect our tax base? And we've subjected ourselves to a 5-year loan. That's my only hiccup there.
What fund does a auto loan?
Well, that one would come out of equipment.
That
reserve.
would come out of
Yes.
equipment.
on a monthly basis.
Correct.
Could you pay it off early?
It would depend.
If you got the funds
in
there.
Well, state auditor doesn't like that.
Oh.
That confuses them. Trust me. We've tried that in the past and they get way confused by that,
Understood.
even if it's only 2 months.
Okay.
Although the bank doesn't have a problem.
I know.
with
Two
it.
different.
If there's any other questions I can answer for you, then I'll make every attempt to.
Could we approve taking some funds out of the equipment reserve to put towards it and then finance what's ever left? Or is that even an option? Or do you have to finance the whole thing? Or pay for it out of pocket?
This point in time, because we're in the process of budgeting and trying to see what all we need for next year, I'm not comfortable taking any at this point. Because I wasn't anticipating it. I didn't know we were going to buy a car. I thought we were waiting another year. So I have not done that. And I need to see what the entire city needs are and how much I can fund.
So does taking on, let's say we vote on taking on an auto loan tonight, does that affect? Well, I guess it would, it affects budget planning then.
Absolutely.
Where do the Ford Escapes fall in price? Wise? Like,
I didn't look for or price Ford Escapes.
Explorers.
Explorers,
maybe.
maybe.
Excuse me.
Scared to drive the Escape.
Yeah.
I thought you were being that smart. I'm like,
Yeah.
So I wasn't.
Yeah, they told them that.
Yeah, the Explorer.
Zero. We didn't find any.
We did find one used one. By the time
Correct,
we,
that's correct.
we would lease return at FDI card in North Bend. By the time they called us, and we called them back.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering, because obviously this is a good opportunity, but I'm just wondering if we set a hard cap budget number for looking. Then we know, like, let's say another one ends up in this, I forget what state, Illinois? Midwest, somewhere over there, no offense, but. you know. Perhaps another one comes up that we know even outfitted. What our hardline number is. I don't know that,
We're close to the end of the year, so if we, like if cars were readily available, then I would say wait to the first year because I can budget for it in advance and stop and look at what everybody's needs are and we can determine how to proceed from there. It just sucks because we're under the gun. This is the only rig they can find. So what do you do?
And
Well,
really-
I
and
realize
realistic-
that's what I'm saying, it's the rig we found at this time. I know they're not easy to find, we've been waiting for 2 years for a cabin chassis to show up. But maybe all I'm saying is, maybe we need to get through budget season, get this in a budget and pre-approve. See what next year's budget looks like and say, okay, we can all sit right here in the same chairs and say you're pre-approved for an amount not to exceed. So it's not such a
Right.
$90,000. Oh, didn't expect that when I walked in tonight. That's what I'm saying.
Unfortunately, I mean. It is what it is. It's unfortunate for the police department because they need vehicles, but. All of our agencies need something, and this is one of those things where. We probably should have been planned out before to where we had it in the budget, if it was known, and I don't know how far back it's been known that we needed a vehicle, but.
14, 15 years of patching them together.
More like 19.
Yeah.
Time to do something.
3 of the cars in the fleet we got when they were done being used by other agencies in our current fleet. Just keep that in mind is all I ask. And then I don't mean towards this car, just keep that in mind. We 3 of our cars are cars that were purchased because they were no longer suitable for police departments.
Yeah.
And that was a step up for us. That's all I would ask that you consider.
Will do.
is it personal opinion? I guess I don't know, I'm not as concerned about the outfitting and all that. I guess the concern, just to reiterate, is the financing aspect of it and taking on a loan. I was hoping, like, when we talked at public safety last week, it seemed like we're on a path to pay it for it through the fund, which that's a different story. I don't have much to add beyond that. I think
We're still kind of just talking at this point, but is there any motion from the council on this agenda item?
Nobody wants to make that. I'll make a motion that we, sorry, that we hold off. And
I don't,
when,
so table,
not to go with it today, table it,
table.
okay.
so. We wouldn't be able to table it. It's a yes or no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's.
it's a hard.
Yeah.
Because they have to tell them either way tomorrow.
Right, then they know right now. And wait to see what the budget comes. It just. It's a hard decision.
So hearing no action on this, we will move on to item F.
She made a
Did
motion.
you, well, but it was the motion, so I guess there's a motion to not
approve.
approve this.
A motion of no motion.
Yeah, so is there a second?
Second.
And so it's motion and second to not move forward with this purchase at this time. Any discussion?
I don't like it.
Yeah, I think
Not a-
we just need to get our ducks in a row for next time. So when they do all this work, I was hoping, because you guys did a lot of work and we talked about it last week. We had a really good lead last week at the meeting. Like I said, I thought we would have cash in the fund to pay for it, and it changes the game when we have to finance. And I don't like the city being, it's a liability when you finance, so. But I want to get us to a point where we're ready to just, like you said, pre-approve or whatever. We have a certain amount, we know what the number is. Finally, when something comes up, you know, we get it at the meeting.
And I guess
So,
my thought behind that also is if a deal like this, if we can pre-approve at the council, there's not the, well, we gotta wait for a council meeting the first Wednesday or the third Wednesday.
oh, because we could approve a purchase price in a meeting.
If we can do that, Steve,
If
if we can approve a
Towards the
purchase price.
budget. So say, he says, I need $90,000 to
Right.
purchase a new car next year, and it's literally in the budget. You guys approve the budget as part of our purchasing policies we passed last
Okay.
year.
That's right.
They can go ahead and purchase up to that amount for that vehicle because you've already approved it.
And then we
Now,
don't
if
have
there's
to do
funds
this thing,
involved, then we would have to bring that to council to approve the financing.
but then we wouldn't have to do this.
We wouldn't have
Yeah.
to do this thing.
Because realistically, I mean, we could put that, here's the cap to go up to, but. Any vehicle in the future that's found is going to be a blink and you miss it type of deal, so having it budgeted. Or pre-approved at a certain amount.
What I would like to do is, with the Public Safety Committee and Casey and Heath or whoever comes to the meeting, sit down and let's go through that portion of the budget together. Let's work out the details and figure out how to make it happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we can bring it to council. Everybody's on the same page and we can move forward.
Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to not move forward at this time?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved and so passed. Moving on to item F, surplus turnouts.
You want me to speak on that?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you would.
No problem. What's that? So we are requesting supporting a 15-cent turnout here. We are from the 2003 stock that the city purchased. Turnout here only have a service life of 10 years. At the 10-year mark, they can no longer be used in the wildfire situation. What our current year is set to expire next year, since we put it to 2015. Approximately 16 are set to expire next year. So we are working with Julie in the budget to get some new sets budgeted next year. Miles mentioned that a little bit earlier. I've reached out to the city of Oakland to see what they did with their old turnout gear in anticipation for turning into new gear. What they've done in the past is sent it down to Mexico where it gets used as the wildland firefighting gear, since they have less stringent requirements in the United States. Through this process, the city of Montesano actually reached out. They do a partnership with Montesano High School where they train high school students as part of their curriculum to firefighter one certification. The current year that they're using is from 1990s. So they're actually asking local fire departments if they have any spare gear that are out of compliance. They can use for training purposes only, not to be used in live fire situations. So Wally did a fantastic job inventorying all of this for us, so that when Montesano reached out, we knew exactly what we had. So I sent a spreadsheet with serial numbers, sizes that we'd like to request permission to surplus in the city of Montesano to be used for training purposes only. Any questions?
We've got sizes, but no serial numbers.
Because when I sent that, I didn't have the serial numbers yet.
Okay.
But I have all the
fully
serial
agree.
numbers to put with our reports for the state auditors. Perfect.
Sorry, it took a couple days to get that put together, so.
It's all good.
Council think.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to surplus this turnout gear, the designated turnout gear to Montesano, correct? Montesano Fire Department.
I'll second that. Moved by Councilmember Wenzel, second by Councilmember Carlisle to surplus these 15 sets, that is 15 jackets, 15 pants, I'm assuming. To Montesano. Any discussion?
I just want to say thank you, Wally, for taking the time to go through that. I've been in that room several times over the last year, and that was a monumental feat. And like I said earlier, thanks to Hopeland for washing our turnouts. So it's a big task getting that gear organized and in order and inventoried apparently. So yeah, I think this gear going to a good cause as opposed to sitting in the closet is a good route to go.
Great use.
Mhm. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Thank you. Thank you all. Item G under new business, Harbor Architects Agreement.
Yes, this is an update to the current agreement we have with Harbor Architects. This was the work they previously had done, but the previous design that they came up with that we went out to bid for early this year, and as you know, came in way over budget. So we had to get back to the drawing board. They're about 80% done with that process. But we do need to update the contract for not only the remaining part of the design work, but also during construction for construction services. So the total of the project for them would be $223,916. That's not only for them, but that's for the electrical, the subs for electrical, engineering, mechanical, civil. I think that was it, but that will be the whole package right there. There was some other supplemental services they offered, but we will take care of ourselves, and that is commissioning of the new plumbing, electrical systems, things like that. We can work directly with the contractor on that and would not need their services for it. So I think we can cut a fair amount of cost there.
Is this an amendment or a new agreement?
I believe this is a complete new agreement.
Did the last one expire? Or
No, it just is additional work, new work.
Because
got
we had to
it,
change
so
the
it's a
design.
different,
They were able to do roughly, I think it was $53,000 of this work for this new design off of the old contract because they were under budget. So now they're to the point they need to finish the remaining part of the work, which is the most time consuming, and that is their contract documents, specifications, and finalizing the plans with their subs. So that's why we need another new agreement.
It's council's pleasure.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Carlisle, second by Councilmember Marcus to sign the agreement with Harbor Architects LLC. Discussion.
did they discuss a time frame?
Our plan is to go out to bid in January of this next year.
And these funds come out of the bond.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. That is it for the agenda tonight. So council comments. Councilmember Marcus. Kyle. Antage.
Nothing.
Robinson.
I got nothing.
It's up to me. Linda, I want to thank you for coming in, giving a presentation. It's fantastic. It's amazing this week. Sun's out. It's like July out there, or August, I guess, for us. There's like 30 kids a day out there by the time I roll and saunter in from Westport. So it's pretty amazing, and I see different vehicles up there. So it's kind of like what we did before as a family. We'd drive to different Aberdeen and Montesano and all these different parks around the harbor to find decent ones. And I would contend we probably have the best one in the county at this point. So amazing job to everyone involved. That's what I got.
Public comments. Anyone from the public? Floor is yours, Linda.
So, for the Park Advisory Board meeting, can you tell me when those meetings will be held?
We'll need to check everybody's schedules with budget stuff, and we will let you know when the next one is.
Will there be monthly meetings?
It depends on if there's something on the agenda.
Okay, and with that said, are you going to be advertising for another person to, the researching, you can have up to 5 people? And because you have 2 council people, in the past it's always been just 1, but you have 2 councilmen sitting on the Parks Advisory Board. And then 2 citizens, are you going to be advertising to let the public know that there's an opening possibly for a new member on that board?
I don't see it right now.
Yeah, we're gonna be, we're
gonna-
gonna make some adjustments and do that subcommittee, and so that's gonna be part of that.
There's 2 council members on the Parks and Cemetery Committee.
Yeah.
But not the advisory committee, I don't think. I think there's only 1.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
Parks,
that'd be-
Parks Rec and Cemetery is the. two.
different
Yeah, on
than
the
the-
advisory committee, but the Parks and Cemetery Committee is a council committee where is 2 council members.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're restructuring, so it'll be much more clear.
And then Kyle, you had, at the meeting, you had talked about writing something up and that you would have that, do you have a timeline for that yet?
My hope is, by our next meeting, it was just between last week
Right, I
and
realize.
today. Yeah,
And very, very.
it's not, nothing's finalized.
Okay, and will those, meetings be open to the public?
I
Parks
believe.
meetings? Yeah.
There's no input.
Yeah, there's no, it's not a public input session, but
But just, I think there's good information for the public, so, people have asked about, can they attend those meetings once they start happening again, so, just curious.
yeah, I don't see why not, yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Explain the. I've only been working with the city when we only had a parks. Board, not a parks advisory board or whatever. So what takes precedent?
So the Parks Rec and Cemetery is, was like the public safety or public works, so that
Right.
consists of the council. Parks Advisory Board, so that's what I had said on when I first in the Citizen Committee, so input, Rodney had sat on it for a number of years, and so that's
But no.
kind of a
people
subcommittee.
Vote, or what does it have? to
Make,
be
they,
part?
yeah, they're an
It's
advisory, they make recommendations, and there's a council member who sits on it, and if needed, then that comes to
Okay,
the.
so,
It's just the
Funnel?
passage of, the funnel of,
different
the
from
funnel
what-
information, yeah.
So is that the one you're asking about advertising for, is the advisory?
Right, so.
I get it now.
Done it on like 3 different occasions, and we always had a council member. Well, you were one, and then, but you know, the volunteers that would come before you and talk about projects or ideas that, and then put it forth, and then it would go to the council. So I'm just wondering if
I
that's
think,
going to be the process.
we technically, I think, have someone still on that committee. They were not comfortable with Zoom meetings at the time. Because I was hand delivering, but I'll have to reach out and see if they're still interested. I don't know if they're even still
The
interested.
last, last one that I remember was Miles, myself, Lowry. And.
That's been a while. The name is escaping me. I know the exact address because I was hand delivering stuff to them, but I don't know if they're still interested. So we'll reach out and we'll make appointments as needed.
Okay, and then if they're not interested, you'll be advertising that?
Yeah,
or-
if they're not, then yeah, but if they're still on it, they're still on it. So, thank you. Any of the members of the public?
Yes, I was, citizen, I would just like to thank Linda and everybody from Highlands for doing what they've done to improve that part, and it's amazing. And also one more thing. So I had a copy of the ordinances for animal control or whatever. What the ordinance is called. The one you gave me. About
How many, it was municipal code regarding how many dogs and cats
Oh,
that you
yeah,
can
yeah,
have.
yeah.
I can't remember what the code is, but
Yes, and I'm just wondering when the city is going to follow that ordinance. As far
The cats, I'm assuming. Yeah.
the cats in particular. I just found
Yeah.
a file of dead kittens. Yes, at the corner of our alleyway by B Street on Saturday.
Hmm.
don't know where they came from. The crows were growing all, what's going on? I went down there. And there was a cat there, but it was a scrawny cat. I knew that cat had, you know, and that cat hadn't been pregnant. And it wasn't moving. What's going on? And oh my gosh, it's a rat. Well, as I got closer,
Mm.
it was 5 kittens, and they were just in a pile.
So that's part of our code enforcement discussion
Yeah,
ongoing,
it's been an ongoing discussion, so.
That's an animal control.
right, is part of that, right?
Separate
Yeah,
position.
and it, yeah, it
Same-
kinda-
It kind of
Well,
falls.
it's like, it kind of went quiet for a while, and it's that time of year again, so we'll talk, when the chief gets back, I'll talk to him directly about it.
Our renter has a major problem with things going on at his house.
With-
I won't even get into what happened. But, anyway, and there's 3 people, our renter, the bus driver, our renter and a boy on the corner saw there's very large raccoons, and they kept going, oh my God, this thing was so big, and there's 2 babies, which are getting larger, I guess, too, which are living underneath this house.
Yeah.
It's not a house. Anyway, it's just places out of control.
And I'll talk to the chief when he gets back, when's he back?
Who is
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I thought Bill was,
Bill's code enforcement, but animal control is separate.
oh,
Yeah, it's
Can I ask a question? So if, we've got quite a few raccoons. Up where we live, and I'm a little concerned, like when I put my dog out, they're pretty big. And I thought, oh, I really don't want my dog to tangle one, but I didn't know about this, but do they send people out to stop them? Or put it
No,
down? Do that?
It's that's it. We live in the wilderness, and it's an unfortunate, and the more animals that are out, the more animals that are gonna come in, so, but I'll talk to the chief as soon as he gets back, and we'll see if there's anything new we can do. Now with one
I
less,
just
it
feel
makes
like
it a little
one
tougher,
would
but
be pretty tough, So,
thank you.
thank you.
Anything else? Yeah, Nick.
Nick Valley, 660 Poly Lane. I just want to remind everybody tomorrow's the great shakeout, and our new tsunami siren is going to do the full wailing sound. Countywide, they will all be doing full wailing sound at 10:20. We're all aware of that.
Thank you.
We
Ten-
invest in media both in the fire department to do that.
Hey, Nick, get with me and we'll get that set up.
Yeah.
We'll get a social media page set up for the fire department,
If you want, yeah.
if you would like to.
I'll be doing a social media post. And Rachel County.
Well, we did one on the city's Facebook page today as well, so it is on the city's Facebook.
Look that up.
Washington Emergency Management on Facebook has a bunch of information.
And, yeah.
And there's a dedicated great shakeout. Social
in the newspaper.
Cities, schools, yeah, but it's still going to be a surprise for a lot of people. It happens every year, but it's still gonna be a surprise, so, thank so, hearing nothing else from the public, 8:51.